What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and here we go again, talking about some Scream 6, talking about some record-breaking numbers, and and already my throat goes. Middle of the day stuff. But I'm excited. I'm excited to talk Scream again. And by the way, let me just throw it out there. I'm sure we'll talk about it in this live stream. Where in God's name is Scream 7? We're getting close to it coming out digitally. We can talk a little bit about that. But, another week down, I think week 4 or 5, and crossing 100, I think it reached $161 million. So we did get it. That prediction. I don't know how many or who specifically made the prediction. I know I had talked about, 160 was that stretch goal. 150 was the hope that, it could kind of easily smash through it. And now it's at 161. Probably ends the run at about 165, 166, you probably imagine. Philip, what's up, buddy? So honestly, it's going as well as it possibly could, making... and I want to talk about this record-breaking number because the cynic in me, the person who kind of needs to correct every statement, that person needs to say certain things. We can be very excited that this movie did what it did. I'm very happy that, in a way, Scream is bigger and in a stronger place. Well, bigger, we'll talk about that. But it's in a very strong place. There's no doubting Scream is back and Scream is doing really well. The thing is, because of inflation, because of money and all that stuff, it reaching 103 million domestically, and even it hitting 161, I wanted to do the math, and I thought, okay, well, what? Because, you think about all these older movies, what would they have made now? The reason it's tough to say Scream is bigger than ever before, you think to Scream 1 through 3, and it was enormous. And if you do the inflation calculations and you do all that stuff, the amount of money that, say, Scream 1 made, it would be so much more, right? So Scream 1, I think, made 170 or so million dollars. That's more like 280 nowadays if you do an inflation calculator. So, this movie and maybe that makes all these movies sound like they're doing terrible, right? So Scream 1, let's even say 260, 270 million nowadays. Scream 5 did 135 or whatever it did. So, or 138, whatever number it was. So it did about half as well as Scream 1. But different eras, different money, I guess at the end of the day, everything's more expensive nowadays anyway. So, it's interesting how everything works out like that. But no, I'm happy for it to do that amount of money. And honestly, you see it breaking these numbers, and they have to see these reports, right? They have to see the box office. They have to see they crossed 100 million domestically. They beat the all-time, record for, domestic just in general. At this point, it is approaching I don't think it'll get there. I don't think it'll get to 170. I just don't think there's any way. But it's approaching it. So why they're waiting for Scream 7, it's got to be, I would say, because of the planning and everything. I had talked about, I assume the script work and all that stuff started later than it did from Scream 5 to Scream 6. I think it's honestly probably the same thing now. I think from Scream 6 to Scream 7, it's taking them more time. So because of that, and then when Radio Silence gets involved, when the cast gets involved, I mean, obviously they're talking about it. Jenna Ortega had said it in that one interview that they were just talking about locations they could go to in the next one. So it's not like it's not going to happen, but, it's taking a while. And once the script and all that stuff is done, obviously you got to work, and I've talked about it before, right? This film's not going to start filming. And maybe, I guess, maybe if we go down that rabbit hole, I've said it, I think, here and there in live streams, if you think about it, filming would start in October versus June, right? So it's a pretty big jump from June to October. If that's the jump, then is that the same? What's that, 4 months? June, July, do you count June? June, July, August. Let's say 4 months, I suppose. So if you're going to jump 4 months, does that mean the announcement is 4 months later? Do we have to wait until May or June to get which is not even 4 months, but let's just kind of say it. Would we have to wait till May or June to get the announcement of Scream 7? I don't think it would take that long, but, at this point, at the end of this month, the digital versions come out. The end of, I don't know if it's the end, but May or June will be the physical versions, like the Steel Book and all that stuff, which I got myself pre-ordered. So do they wait for that to then announce Scream 7? I guess. I think what matters is when you announce it to when it films. Like, it should still be roughly the same time that it was last time for this movie. So as long as that happens, I think it'll be okay. I'm making a fan film, Ghostface versus Michael Myers. Nice. Yeah, I'm sure people do it. I've just never seen it. There's that YouTube channel, Bat in the Sun, and back in the day, he would do a lot of fights. Like, he would do like Wolverine versus Wonder Woman and Harley and all this kind of stuff. And, fan films, but also like very high budget for being a fan film. And I don't know, has anybody ever done it for like the horror villains? Like, has anybody ever done a 5-6 minute clip of Ghostface versus, Michael Myers, like, as an example? I think that'd be freaking sweet. I think that would get, done very high budget, for a fan film. I think that would do so much money, so much money, I suppose, so many views. So it would get a lot of money. Brick Boy, thanks for being here, buddy. Always appreciate all the support you've given in the 22 months. It's actually kind of crazy. 2 years in May is when I started memberships, I think. I appreciate it. I've been thinking of what I can do. I think the third channel, Back to the Past, will eventually warrant memberships. I don't want to, like, all these memberships and all these different channels can become kind of cringe. But I think the third channel, with the more essay, retrospective videos, I think memberships probably work better there than any other channel that I have. So I think eventually I may do something like that on the third channel, but not for a while. Got to hit 1,000 subscribers first, I think. I think we could see Billy's Mask in Scream 7. Yeah, I wonder, like, because I think there was an interview today with Guy, and Guy's done a couple interviews over the last couple of days, and the way they talk about the shrine thing is kind of like a one and done. Like, they wanted to make sure everybody, saw that it's for all the films, right, to kind of reference them. But there's no reason that Billy's Mask can't eventually. I think it makes sense for it to still come up in Scream 7 because of Sam with Billy. So I wouldn't doubt that. I don't think there's any reason to maybe do it after that, but we'll see. I was wrong about changing directors. I hope they changed writers. Yeah. Well, it's tough. Like, I feel for these people, and I think generally they all do a pretty solid job, including the writers. I think they've written solid films at worst, to be honest with you. If there is anybody that needs the new blood kind of thing, I do think it would be the writers. But you listen to them talk. Like, I've listened to, or I guess watched as well, some of the interviews with Guy. Like, he seems like a good guy. Not to, the name is such a thing, but he really does seem like a nice guy. And I don't want to see him like fired or replaced or anything. I think they have. We've talked about it. I think they have their strengths. I don't know if they're like fully aware of their weaknesses and stuff, but I do think they have their strengths. One weakness, I would say, one of the things he said in the interview with, I think We Watched a Movie, is that the YouTube channel, was talking about they like the only reason to kill Dewey in 5, the reason to kill Dewey is you had to get Sidney back. So Sidney wouldn't come back unless Dewey died. I don't think that's true. And I can see how, you're in the writer's room, you're collaborating, you're discussing. I can see how you're like in a bubble where maybe you don't kind of pop it to see if but like, I think if Dewey gets really injured, I think Sidney come. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say, like, Dewey didn't need to die. Now, again, I don't super mind it. I'm kind of in the middle of it. Like, I definitely wouldn't have done it, but I'm not like absolutely furious at them, but I'm also not like in love with it. So I'm kind of right down the middle. I see where they're coming from. I see how they can get themselves, and it's not like the be-all, end-all example, but it is an example, I think, of, did you fully realize that you could have done something else? Like, where's your mindset? So that one's tough. It's going to be an hour long, my fan. Oh, it's a full movie. Oh, my God. So it's like a Freddy versus Jason kind of thing. That's sweet. You'll hit 1,000 soon, Alex. Thanks, buddy. I'm trying to do 2 videos a week over there. Gaining subscribers slowly, but I can like promote it every couple of weeks on this channel, try to get it. Once I hit 1,000, I've said it before, even for like the second channel. Once I hit 1,000 on these things, I don't care really where the numbers go. I don't care how slow including this channel. I don't really care how slow they grow with subscriber numbers because they don't really matter. But you have to hit 1,000, right? That's the big one, and then after that, doesn't matter. It's amazing until the reveal Sam was good in Scream 6. Yeah, they talked about the reveals in the interview that I'm thinking of. And, I think Guy had said, like, one of their primary jobs as writers is if you get to the ending and it feels like anticlimactic, then it's, But the thing that's, they failed their job. That's what he said. Then, like, they failed as a writer. The thing that's interesting with Scream 6, though, is doesn't Bailey say, like, of course it was me, or, like, it had to be me? Like, didn't he say that? So, like, it's odd because it's like, yes, I read that as meta. Like, I don't know if they intended it like that. I think they kind of did. Maybe the same thing as, like, Richie in 5, where, like, it made the most sense for the movie that he says into the modulator. I feel like it was the same kind of idea where they were like aware that Bailey was so obvious. But then, like, if you're so aware that Bailey is the killer and you make a meta joke about it in the start of the monologue, did you fail as a writer or did you not? Because we did see it coming, but you knew we saw it coming, so you're gonna lean into it. It's tough. It's tough. Cotton's death, do you think we can have that tone in Scream 7? So I've never been, I've said it before, the beginning of 3, I don't really hate the beginning of any of these movies, but 3's I definitely don't love. I like Cotton a lot, and I don't know back in the day, like, how surprising was it that you start with that? I guess that probably was pretty big. Nowadays, I don't know if you would get the same kind of impact for it, but I didn't mind it. It was kind of weird because of the voice changer, let's say, but the tone in it. I think the tone was pretty good. Like, I like the dynamic between him and his girlfriend, and even like the alternate. I think like his death is kind of like it's going for it, and even the alternate kill of him when he goes through the roof or the window thing at the top. They went for it there, and obviously they didn't use that one, but I think they could do that for 7. Again, who do you choose? Can Danny do it? Do you want Danny to be the opening? I think it makes a lot of sense for it to be Danny. Although, you could do it for other characters. If you want a quick way to bring Sydney in, you could have the attack start with her. Like, it could be attacking her, and then everybody would come to her instead of her having to go to other people. You could just bring it to her. That would be a very easy one. Then you could almost play with the Scream 4 original idea with Sydney. You could do, it would kind of be like Scream 5 a little bit as well. One more season of the MTV. Yeah, we've talked about the idea of shows. I did the pitch of the game yesterday. I think we need more. I think one thing with Scream being healthy, which it is in terms of like box office and money and enthusiasm, I think now's where you spread it out. Let me say this. I actually probably don't think that's the wisest idea, right? I think the most wise idea would be to look at it and say it's doing really well. People are into it. People are spending money on it. So let's grow a little bit, but let's not do like 500 things. Let's not do what Marvel's doing. Let's not do DC. Let's not do Star Wars. Let's keep it quality over quantity, whereas everybody else has kind of gone the reverse. Yet again, because of the business and because of money and because of streaming services, I do think a show makes sense. I think a game, and by the way, I think you could have a movie franchise and then also do a game or 2 on it. I think the quality doesn't suffer. So I do want that. But, the TV show, you would be stepping into, okay, is this too much quantity over quality? Ultimately would come down to how good the show is and all that stuff. And I think they did a very good, like, I watched the MTV's way after. So I wasn't part of helping it succeed literally at all. I love season 1 and 2 of, I think 1 is the better of the two. I think 2 has some really great moments, probably better moments than 1. But I think probably 1 is the more consistent one. And then season 3, which obviously jumped networks and all that stuff, 3 was god awful. So if you do a TV show and you do it like season 3, then I don't want it. I really don't want to like insult Scream, and I would have to if they did that. If they did it like seasons 1 and 2, I think it'd be okay. Since Wes Craven and Kevin didn't intend to kill him after all these years, I wish he didn't die. Oh well, we got Kirby back. Yeah. I do fully agree with the idea that Guy had said it in the interview he did today. Like, these characters, you do have to kill them eventually. Like, even these plot armor heavy characters, some of them have to die. Now, the idea of Sydney, you can never kill her, right? I don't know. There was actually a question asked to him about Sydney, and he said, not word for word, but he said he would be interested down the line to see like if another writer had an idea for how to kill Sydney. And right before then he said like, they wouldn't do it or whatever. And I think that'd be a terrible idea, number one. And then number two, did he not see that thing with Nev where she like specifically said, if you ever kill me like in a script, I'm not coming back. So no, don't ever, not even for fun, never write a script. Him, Jamie, or any writer in the future, never write a script that has Sydney die in it, because that would just be, unless you can convince her to have her character be killed, but that hurts so much her character. It just hurts her legacy, so there's really no reason to do that. I was able to tell Bailey was the killer in the trailer. Yeah, obviously I didn't want it to be, right? But I think Ethan was barely in the trailer, but I do think he was kind of obvious. Bailey became more and more obvious. I think if you watch the interviews with Dermot Mulroney, it became incredibly obvious he was the killer. I think he did a pretty horrible job with that. He seems like a good guy, very like high energy, but he pretty much gave it away, I would say. And then in the movie, there's no guessing. It's definitely Detective Bailey. Like, it's not even a question. So, the voice changer. I'm not a big fan of the voice. I will say, again, I watched Scream 3 about a month ago, right after Scream 6 came out, and I definitely like it a lot more, and I like different elements of it more. The voice changer, I think originally I would say I hated the voice changer. I don't hate the voice changer. It was leaning into like the modern technology at the times. I don't know. I don't think it was good, but I definitely don't think it was bad either. I wouldn't want them to do it again, though. Sorry, the alternate. Yeah, the alternate's pretty dark. Pretty dark. I want the attack to be on Sydney's family and see her take more of a leading role and have a purpose. Yeah, there you go. And I didn't even see that comment, right, Tyler, when I was saying it. I honestly think, now, if you had the beginning opening, if you had the opening be Sydney, the issue, not even necessarily issue, but she would have to be a center, role in the film. I don't know how they write it, right? Because the thing is, are they scared to write something too deep for Sydney in fear that she won't come back? See, the thing I'd love to kind of know about, like, the business, you know what I mean? Like, if you write the script and she's, like, the 5th lead after the core 4, right? And she'd probably be in it more than, like, a Mindy kind of character. Okay, so she's, like, in the top 5. You have to offer her more money, right? Like, that just has to be, like, a part of it. So then you shouldn't be afraid to write her in, right? Now, if you write her in as character number 11, then it's like, okay, well, now we know we're going to lowball her as an offer. But if you write her as character number 5, who does it, who reads it and says, okay, so we need her, and she's a high-level character in this, so we need to make sure we give her a good offer. I don't know how that works, but I wonder what that process is, because I don't want them to be afraid of, right? Because, like, do you write the Scream 7 script now without Sydney because you're afraid that Nev would turn you down? I don't think you should, because you don't know that. And also, if you make her a big enough role, you offer her more money, or whatever ends up happening. But I think it makes sense. I think if you want her in the film, it makes more sense to bring people to her than to have her go to others. With that being said, they would have brought her to New York. I don't know why, because the only hints we got are like the themes would still kind of be the same. So it would still be like maybe it's like, but I don't know, like, why would Sydney go? I could see the killers, because the killer idea was basically anybody who had anything to do with Richie's death, they were going to pay, right? That was the idea. So Sydney did have something to do with it. But if Sydney's not in New York, what does it matter, right? You're not going to be able to get her. So why does Sydney, the person, why does she go to New York? We don't really have that answer. We never would have, but they totally would have done it, right? Like, we would have gotten it if she was in the film. So I guess it's easier to bring people to her, but even like a random outside thing like New York, unless like the attack on Gale, right? Wasn't there oh, you know what? That's it. Wasn't there the rumor that Sydney was going to come back for the final act and help Sam and Tara at the end? So they probably would have had Gale do the attack, get injured, and Sydney would come back for Gale. And then Sydney would be in the shrine, maybe with Kirby. So it would be Kirby, Sydney, Sam, Tara, and then I guess also Chad. And so, but then like, I don't know, but then Kirby doesn't have as much to do now. So it's tough, but that's probably what you would have done. So I guess you need a character to get attacked or killed in order to get Sydney out. I guess that's like that's the mindset I feel these writers, for better or worse, I think it's for worse, but that's the mindset I think these two have. Is to get Sydney out of her house, you need somebody to die or get close to death. So you know what? For 7, maybe you have to kill Kirby. I don't want that, but maybe you have to kill Kirby in order to get Sydney out. I don't know. Or any of the core 4, I suppose. Stab movie spin-off would be nice. But then, like, what... I agree. I think a stab movie would be fun. Would be really fun. But like, what's the expectations? What's the budget? Like, can I guess there's the rumors of, or didn't Matt and Tyler talk about it? Like a Grindhouse kind of thing, maybe like a $2 to $5 million budget, and then maybe it makes like 10 or 15 million. Like, you'd have to just like set your expectations of it'd have to be very cheap to make, and that it's not going to make a lot of money. And you'd have to be okay with that. They'd have to be okay with it, not necessarily us. So, your idea for a game sounds dope. Thank you. I think I definitely think I articulated it the best I could have done, way better than I did last year. And I think a game is so possible. The comments on there were very nice, and I think some of them gave me even more optimism, where there was a lot of people saying like, we will get a game. And they don't have any insider scoop, but I kind of believe them. Like, I want to believe. I think a game makes so much sense. I can't believe that we're getting games in other franchises before we're getting a game for Scream. But the thing that scares me the most is I do think, I would wager some sort of money on it, I do think we would get a Scream video game. I do think that one day will happen. My worry is they'll just do a multiplayer thing, because single player, like an Until Dawn or whatever, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of time. It's cheaper. It just factually is cheaper to do a 4v1 or 1v4, right? Ghostface versus 4 survivors. It's easier to do that. I don't think I think it works, but it just barely works as a concept. I think you could do so much better than that. So hopefully that doesn't happen, and I'd be the first one to support it as well as criticize it. I'd also hope to like talk to the people that make it and say, hey, I'll support it. We'll all try to support it, but there's got to be another way of doing this. You should be able to do a different game. So we'll see. But I appreciate it. I like the voice changer. It'd be cool if Ghostface taunted Gale with Dewey's voice. That's fine. I can see how you could do it for sure, or use Sydney's voice. Like, there could be some cool stuff. Jeremy, what's up, buddy? If there was ever a pitch to kill her, Nev simply wouldn't do it. Right. So, like, why would you waste your time writing that pitch when Nev would just say, nope? Like, you're just wasting your own time. And you should know, as the writer, as the creative team, you should kind of know what those requirements. Like, it's literally, it's not, I guess it's like an informal, because I think she said it in an interview. I don't know if she's ever said it to them, but like, you have to pay attention and you have to kind of know Nev Campbell has set a requirement that you can never kill her off. If you kill her off in a script, she's not doing it, period. And you should just know that so that you don't waste your own time. Also, that would probably be insulting, right? Because then she gets the script and she's like, what is this? I said I would never do this. So, have you seen Guy Busick's interview? Yep, I did, Kyle. That's the one I'm talking about with Guy. With the Sydney thing, with kind of alternate scripts and stuff. I did watch that. Good interview. It's a good interview. I'd love to interview him. I don't know how you get in, like, he has a Twitter. I don't know how you get in contact with these people. I don't know how you set up interviews with the Hollywood elites. I really don't. Never kill Sydney. Agreed. Can we start a slogan, put on t-shirts? I don't think it's a worry. Like, his comment was kind of weird, but I don't think like there's a big movement from the creative team making Scream that wants to kill Sydney. Like, I don't think that would happen. So I don't think it can be a slogan. It can be, I think like the Stu kind of stuff would be more popular. But yeah, it feels like they've already secured Nev for 7. God, I hope so. I'll tell you this now. She's coming as part, they go everywhere, but her and the other 3, Jamie, Kennedy, Skeet, and Matthew, they're coming to Denver for the Comic-Con in July 2nd, 1st, 2nd, and I'm going to go. So I already got the one that you may have seen interviews or videos of Nev and Roger talking about Wes. It was the Toronto Fan Expo right after Wes died. I was there. I got a picture with Nev, just like the photo op. This time I want their autographs. So definitely going to get Nev's autograph on some film, some movie, one of the Screams. And then I'll probably have to pick one of the other 3. I don't think I want to do all 4 of them. Well, I do. I want to meet all 4 of them, I guess. But money and all. So I definitely am going to see Nev, though. I want to see it. And I think it's always better to do the autographs versus the photos, because the photos, you get the picture and it looks great in the frame and you can remember it, but you don't really talk. Like, you're in a line, you walk up, you take the pic, and then you leave, and there's really no time. You don't ask them questions, you don't have a conversation at all. Like, it's just very quick. The autograph, there's like a 30 to 60 second window to talk to them. And I've done it with like Nolan North, Troy Baker, those 2 for sure. Who else? Nathan Fillion. So I've done it with a couple in the past. It's always, it's in my opinion, it's always better to do the autograph. But that was an aside. But if you want me to, well, no, I'd like to say, like, if you want me to ask Nev anything, let me know. But at the same time, you only have like a couple seconds, so I feel like I should ask her what I want to ask her. If we have Sydney back, we should finally have the Stu sister come for revenge on Sydney. I think those kind of nods to like the ancestors, like the Stu kind of, I think those are more like literal just nods, and I don't think they're really planting it to be anything. That's just me. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree. Kirby, the opening victim. I think it makes sense, and I think Kirby's popular enough. I think she was a great character in 6. I think you could do it where 7 starts with her and she dies. Boy, I'd be sad. I'd hate it to a sense, kind of like a Dewey thing. Like, you'd hate it, but also it might be good. You know what I mean? You maybe would like it. So it's tough. Killing off Mindy is the safest bet. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually kind of odd because even myself, like, I liked Mindy more than Chad after 5. What's even the most odd? I'd say even beyond Mindy is the character. What's the craziest is Randy, so many people look at it as a mistake, right? That Randy died. Like, so many people say you shouldn't have killed him there. Maybe you wait till 3 or you never kill him off. So what's crazy is, like, I think a lot of us have that thought, but of the characters now, I think Mindy is easily the most expendable. Which is, you know what I mean? But she is now the Randy. She's now the one who's supposed to talk for us. I see people making solid points about her where she just has like a really long monologue where she kind of like tells us the whole movie, tells us, why everybody can or can't do it. I mean, Randy kind of did that. I'd say Randy's was a little bit more kind of like on his feet, like a little bit more dynamic than Mindy's. So I kind of see it. I like Mindy as a character. If you didn't kill her, that'd be fine. But of those four, she'd have the least impact, though, right? Like, I think killing Chad, as you probably should have, at the end of 6, I think that would have had major impact. At this point, for the most impact, you'd have to kill one of Sam or Tara. Like, if you really wanted to shock us, you'd have to kill Sam or Tara. Killing Chad would be like, all right, finally. Like, you did kill him twice, and he didn't die for whatever reason. And killing Mindy, well, you kind of did that as well in 6, in the train. So you'd have that, and you'd also say, she's probably the least, impactful of the 4 of them anyway. So I think to go big, killing Chad, I don't even think is big, is going all the way. I think you have to kill one of Tara or Sam. So yeah. Scream 7 sounds great, but what would main story be? I mean, you could always, as long as you have a lot of survivors, you could always have like the clean slate motive where it's a ghost face trying to just clear the board of all the survivors. You could look at it as they want to be the ones to have done it, right? They want like the recognition that they killed all these people that past ghost faces haven't. You could do a vigilante, which they kind of dabbled in this one. So it would maybe be too close. But the idea that you feel almost a need to get rid of these characters so that nobody else gets hurt. You want to like end the Ghostface killings in general, so you want to wipe the slate or wipe the board clean. I mean, that's in a way that's close to what Detective Bailey and company were doing. So I don't know if you could do that one anymore. I did. We watched a movie Lay's video. Yep, it's a good interview. I would like to see the original killer, Danny Johnson, the original Ghostface, before Billy and Stu. Well, the Roman thing went back to before Billy and Stu, and maybe now, they do the same thing. My hope for 7 is an elevation of stakes. There are 3 killers and less meaningful deaths than any other film. Would you be against Gale being killed off in an opening closing scene? Maybe Ghostface lives. So the issue with that's a good thought, Trevor. The issue with Ghostface living, I don't think you could do that because it'd be a trilogy, right? I have pitched the idea, what if 7 is a part 1 and part 2, like the meta kind of thing on just movies in general, right? Harry Potter, Twilight, Hunger Games. So if you did that, then I do think Ghostface could survive and live. If it's literally 7 and you're done and that's the trilogy, I don't think Ghostface could survive. The Gale thing, I don't know. The only way I'll take Gale dying, to be honest, is if Courtney Cox were to say, okay, I'm done. Like, I want this to be my last one. Then I would take it. Beyond that, I mean, I don't know. You're just killing off. I do think some of these characters do deserve, like, not even necessarily a happy ending, but just to not be tormented or eventually murdered and killed off, right? So, I don't know. Gale, I definitely wouldn't like it, but depends, I guess, on the reasoning of why you would do it. I think it'll be a joint announcement of 7 and Nev returning. That'd be sweet. I'd definitely take that. Jelly Cool Knights of Chevy. Hello. What a name. How likely do you think Matthew Lillard could possibly come back? I think it's more likely that he comes back through a flashback or something like that versus I think the odds of him coming, I think the odds of Stu coming back alive are 0. I think it's 0. I think they'll never fully drop it, so maybe it'll always be like 0.01, like 1%. But the odds of him coming back in general as a family flashback kind of thing or whatever, I think is definitely. I think they haven't given hints, but I think they've hinted at willingness to do it at some point. I think they've hinted that they could do it. So, Stu's sister opening kill blaming Sydney. The thing is, do we care about Stu's sister? Like, if you focused, like Jenna Ortega sold 5, Drew Barrymore sold 1. You know what I mean? Samara Weaving, I guess. Or like it had a part of this. Well, I guess like, the beginning of 6. I guess we don't really care about those characters. So I guess if you do a character like Stu's sister, it's got to like, the set piece has to be something. The reason, like how it ties in has to be kind of incredible because we don't really have reason to care. So yeah. Watched 6 3 times. I was putting it number 3. But after thinking about it for a while, lack of stakes just puts it down a notch to number 4, which means 1, 5, 2, 6, 4. Wait, you put 2 twice. 1, 5, 2, 6, 4, 2. One of those has to be a 3. Oh, 3's last. 3's last. Gotcha. 1, 5. Man, 5's high. 5 is high on your list. I think 5 is definitely dropped for me to either last or second. Well, I think it always was second to last. I think it may be last. These 3 I really liked. But I'll have to watch 5 again because I really like 5 too. Whenever I'm watching any of the films, I like them. Like, I think it's only after, right? Like I'll watch 3 and I'll like it as I'm watching it. I feel like Scream has that. I don't know how many other films or franchises have that grab where when you're watching it, you're like, oh yeah, this is great. Like I'm having so much, or you're having fun, or you're sad, or you're thinking, about whatever. And then it's only after, maybe it's just a thing in general. Then afterwards you say, okay, hold on, let me point this stuff out. 3, I think, has that because I had a blast watching 3. And then afterwards you think, okay, the kills were incredibly lame. Voice changer is a lot of the side characters, I can't even think of their names. They're totally forgettable. No thanks. Some of the acting is really like all over the place. So like you think about that after, but you really don't think about it, at least I don't, when the movie's playing. Same thing with 6. Same thing with 5. Well, 6, it's like, okay, well, that was kind of obvious that it was them as the killers. 5, I guess, as well, where it's like, dang it, I knew it was Richie and Amber, and then it was Richie and Amber. I don't know. Hopefully they go back to the one killer. What I loved about Scream 3, it really felt like Sid versus Ghostface. Yeah, it had that element for sure. And I think it made the end fight very impactful because it's one-on-one monologue, Sidney screaming, a really good fight, really high stakes of, who's going to kill who. And you can't do that if you have more than one, right? Like you needed one. But 5 and 6 have played with it, right? Because they've kind of split it up. Like it was Sam v. Richie, and then Gail and Sidney versus Amber. Tara, kind of helped, but she wasn't really part of it. So you kind of split them off. 6 was like all over the place, right? Like Tara versus Ethan, but also they're all there for the monologue. It got, I wouldn't say messy, because I don't actually think it was messy, but they like have organized it differently. Then everyone is organized differently. I will say that for sure. They've definitely done that. So, Maureen's murder, family secrets, trauma Sidney had endured. That is really the heart of Scream. If they ever decide to end the franchise, why not take it all back to that for the greatest impact? Yeah. What you don't do is you don't kill her. When do you think Scream 7 can get announced? Like I've said, hopefully soon. I've already been wrong, I think, twice with my prediction of it. I guess I'll say eventually, just to be safe. Like I said earlier, the digital release comes out in just a few weeks, and then the physical edition in May or June. So I can't imagine you get past like June without an announcement. Considering the rumor is that October is the filming thing, right? So you kind of work backwards. So I think we should hear about it in this area, April, May, June, because then there's the build up, there's the casting, all that stuff, and the films in the mid-fall. But yet I've been wrong. I'm kind of speaking in generalities because I haven't been right. I'm right with a lot of my predictions about the movie, but I'm not great, I guess, at timelines afterwards. I wouldn't have said that Scream 6 would have been announced this fast last year, and then I wouldn't have said Scream 7 would be announced this slow this year, right? It's been opposites. I would like 7 to touch more upon things not being movies anymore, but series, events, or otherwise. That should be the next meta slice of the Stab universe. Yeah. I think Gail had kind of already hinted at that. And then the question is, do you, take it and go, or do you kind of leave it at what she said in 6? It'd be cool if they did an origin how Billy and Stu killed Sydney's mom, or a flashback of how that played out. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'd like to see him come back as flashback or ghost. Him being alive after all these years would be Fast and Furious territory. Well, you be careful there, because I love Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious is kind of going. It's in terms of like bringing people back. Look, I always knew Giselle was not dead. I never believed Gal Gadot's character died, and she didn't. Han, obviously, there's always the hope that Han didn't die. I want Stu to come back and survive 7 to go on trial and inspire many more Ghostface killers to spring up. I just don't think. I've said it before in terms of even like marketing or people's kind of interest in the movies. It's just because I think something does not mean you have to think it or even like it, right? Like at all. But how I view it, I just don't think bringing Stu back super, super helps the film. Like, I think you may get older people back for it, but I think a lot of people would maybe say, okay, now you've gone too far. You'd have a lot of new people, by the way, that have never watched the old Scream movies. Those people definitely do exist that have watched these ones, and they may not even know who Stu is. You know what I mean? So, it's tough. Going back and looking at clips, comprehends tweets is so funny. They played and lied to us all. I've actually thought of doing, like, no joke, I thought of clips when I do, like last week. Like, it wasn't that long ago. I thought of his account, and I was like, remember that? What a journey with that account, huh? Like, insane. Do you think they could go back to the original Scream 3 script and use it in Scream 7? Well, they kind of lifted some things off of 2's original script. So 3's original script, yeah, you could play around with a couple of like double crossings, red herrings that really weren't going to be red herrings, like, stuff like that. I think they could do it. I think they look for inspiration in like the failed scripts or like alternate scripts of these past movies. I think they kind of look to them for a little bit of guidance. I guess Scream 2022 is number 2 for me because I went in almost blind, and what a great experience that was. Well, as I've always said, I envy people that go in, I think if you go in and you didn't see the trailers or the lead up, you wouldn't know about like the Dewey Hospital stuff, or you wouldn't obviously know the killers. I think not knowing the killers would help. I think Amber is kind of obvious, but I don't think Richie is. Besides, his look in the hospital is actually very big. Like, when you rewatch it and you see that, there's no unseeing it. So, that was there for sure. But I guess if you went in thinking nothing, knowing nothing, I think Richie was kind of well hidden. Definitely more hidden than Ethan or Bailey in this one. Quinn, kind of 50-50. Hope we get a wintry snow setting for Scream 7. That'd be sweet. The contrast of black and Ghostface costume against all the white and bright red blood trails through the white snow. That'd be sweet. It would just be... you think it would almost be going too far, though? Like, if you do a Halloween theme and, like, a big city, and then you do, like, a winter cabin thing. I mean, I guess you could. Who's stopping you? I wonder when it becomes too much. But maybe not. It would maybe become too much, like, if you do it 3 or 4 times. Maybe not 2. I think you could probably get away with it, right? Do you think Sydney is coming back? My gut would say yes. Like, I feel solid about the odds. There's really no excuse about money, because it made more money than 5. They have more money at their disposal. Chuck an extra, like, $2 million to her, or, do whatever you have to do. There's no way she's that expensive. Like, it's not like Neve Campbell's taking up a third of the budget. If anything, Jenna Ortega is going to take up a third of the budget. Like, Neve Campbell is not that popular to warrant. Again, like, I don't know how much she warrants, but if the discrepancy was like $1 or $2 million, you should do it. You have the money, definitely now. Do it. If the discrepancy is like $6, $7, $8 million, Okay. All right. There's clearly you got two different ideas of talent and not maybe not even talent, but like marketed ability of her as a person. Definitely would have two different like looks at it. But if it's only like a million or two, easy for me to say, I guess. But these are big companies that I don't care what happens to their money either. Do you watch the anthology horror slasher? I think you would like Help Me Wait for Scream 6. Binging the seasons again. Horror slasher. It's just called Slasher? No, I've never seen it. Maybe I should. Scream got me into murder mysteries. I have seen Scream Queens. I have. They're great. Jamie Lee Curtis and Emma Roberts. I saw Emma Roberts and Kim Kardashian being in American Horror Story. My mom watched like all of. I saw like clips online and stuff, but I can't believe it's still going on. American Horror Story. But I like Emma Roberts. I think she's a great actress. So. Richie saying, I know it's a bummer that's me. It was my exact reaction. Love the actors so much in The Boys, so I felt that. I felt it too. Like I fully knew it was him. I knew it was going to be him. That line, I thought that was a very good line. Very smart. I think Jack Quaid, I think the line is only so good, and then he had to kind of take it, and like he elevated it. I think he did, because I think that was very powerful. I knew it was going to be Richie, the boyfriend, again, but they did a good job making it seem like it wasn't him till he reacted to Ghostface getting shot. Yeah, that too. There were, like, as you get... It's the way that it is for all these movies, right? When other suspects start to drop and you get closer and closer to the ending, it becomes, like, of course, it has to be one of these, and then when they do... So, like, his look in the hospital... was a giveaway, in my opinion, even if you didn't see the trailer. His look in the hospital was a giveaway, but it wasn't, I guess if you missed it, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But then, like, when Liv gets shot, that was a big one. Ghostface calling Sydney, and then her shooting Richie, and, shooting through the door and all that stuff. Like, it was so obviously him, but I guess, you still didn't want it to be him. But as it got closer, it's like, okay, it literally has to be Richie. Who else is it? Who else could it be? Tara, I guess. Their idea was to make Tara the killer, even though that was maybe the biggest flaw. Like, she's a new character, so I guess she could have been Ghostface. It could have been her and Amber. But a couple things. She weighs like 80 pounds soaking wet. She's so tiny and all that stuff. And number two, like even smaller than Amber. And then number two, she was destroyed the whole movie. Like, it literally couldn't have been her. It would make no sense. So putting it all on her didn't work. And I would say that has been a reoccurring issue with them, because I never bought the Tara thing, and I never bought Kirby. Twice, I never thought about that. Twice in a row, one of their like safety mechanisms to try to hide the obvious killers is to make it somebody that it cannot be. They tried it with Tara, and then they try to make Kirby the killer, like, have the possibility, and it doesn't work. It's not either of them, and you know it. So that is a problem with the writing, for sure. They think it can be, they want us to believe it can be somebody that clearly it's not. It'd be like in the next one, if they tried to make like Sydney or Gale Ghostface, like just like have some hints that maybe it's them, just to have like another suspect. Don't do that. Like, you have your group. Like, I don't know. That's what I would say. Will Sydney die? No. Patrick Dempsey should return for Scream 7. That'd be freaking sweet. That'd be a nice one. Love those Scream streams. Thank you. Like these? Do you still follow AMTV? No. No, I do not. Well, every like month or two I'll look at his channel, but I don't nothing beyond that. I do feel an idea for 7 has been pitched to Spyglass Paramount. They're just making sure that the scheduling can work for release. Yeah. That's the way Guy talks in these interviews, I get the sense. Now, I guess he would maybe talk the same if he was writing the script versus if he was done. But also, if you really want to read into it, why is he doing interviews, right? If they're kind of like head down in the weeds writing like these first drafts of the movie, would you really be doing interviews and like not be doing your job? You know what I mean? So I think it's very possible that these last couple weeks it's turned in. They're doing like the back and forth thing, so they're a little bit more free. They're not actively writing. Maybe they're making changes here and there, and so that kind of frees him up to write or to do interviews. So I kind of get that same sense. I would say it's probably done, and they're just doing like the back and forth, making sure the logistics work and stuff like that. That's a good point, Gerald. Yeah, but if I was going to be devil's advocate, Tara could have been an accomplice but never wear the costume, taking one for the team for sure, but leading her sister into a trap, not killing people. Okay, I'd buy that. That's a good point. I have nothing to say against that at all. I'm not perfect. If people come up with good counters to me, I will yield and I will accept that people got the better of me. That's fair. And ultimately, honestly, we kind of have that thought going into 6. Like, could Tara be like a mastermind? She never has to do anything. She just has to kind of let Sam get like really dark and like let her succumb to these, not hallucinations, but just let her get dark. So that's definitely a point. That's definitely a good point. I think Danny will be the opening kill for 7, making Sam snap. It makes sense. Like, it makes a lot of sense to kill Danny very early, which sucks because I really like him. And then really you only have the couple scenes he's in 6 as like your memory of him, and I guess his death. But it actually makes a lot of sense to kill Danny very early in 7. Like, not just for him, but for the whole film. You should. The Island Project, he's charging people $30K to join some kind of timeshare. It's insane, claiming to be a billionaire now. Yeah, I don't take back any, there's a lot of people that have left some pretty nasty comments, Marcus, on those old videos. I still agree with everything I said. He's a fraud. He's not who he claims to be. That's still true. So yeah. Guy did look like he knows stuff about 7. His poker face wasn't there, and that's okay. Everybody knows something is up, and that's the gist of Hollywood. Yeah, like he's unwilling to. And again, what would change if he was writing versus if he completed writing? How much of his words would change? Probably not much, to be fair. But he definitely knows where it's set. The one kind of thing he got caught up on, right, where he said like, well. Or one of the things where he's like, I've pitched ideas of where I think the next movie should go. They definitely know where the next one is set. Whether it be Hollywood or whether it be like a themed place or whatever, he knows, like for sure. Beyond that, I don't really know if he gave anything else like away. Like the same general thing with Sydney where like, if Nev... he never even said that. I hope he wrote Sydney in. I'll just say that right now. I hope he wrote Sydney in, for sure. I want Sydney to be the main, like the like the state. No, I think Sydney. I don't know. I don't know if Sydney will ever be the main character because you got Sam and you got Tara. But could she be like a top 3 to 5 character? I think she could. I think if Tara was an accomplice, the entire opening of 5 and the hospital scenes with her alone wouldn't make any sense. Yes, okay. There's a good counter. Gerald, I'm glad you're here to be my brain for me. That is the point. Yeah, that is the fair thing with, I think people had kind of thrown that out. If Tara was an accomplice, you could make it work. It could work, but you didn't have to, like, overkill on the attack in the beginning. Why did you do that scene, right? Now, I will say this. It would almost be like the Mindy subway scene. Remember, I've talked so much about that, where it's for the audience, but actually makes no sense for the film to do that. For those that don't know, I've talked about the Mindy subway, where if it's a movie, if it's the fictional universe, she should have died. There's no reason to have her live there. The only reason to have Mindy live is for us, the viewers of the film, to see that she lives and to see that Ethan didn't do it. That's the reason that scene is in the movie. I think that's heavily flawed, and I don't like that. But that honestly is somewhat similar to Tara, in 5, where it wouldn't work for me, but you could use the same argument where it's for us as a viewer, but I guess it doesn't serve them as the character, because why would you do that? It's the same thing for Mindy, but yeah, that was a little bit of an an overkill in the beginning, and then the hospital thing. Yeah, that would be rough too. I think any doubt that Guy and Jamie weren't writing 7 was dismissed by the interview. Oh yeah, but see, I don't think was there ever discrepancy on that, because I think Tyler and Matt I think they've always said, going back like 4 or 5 weeks ago in interviews, they said multiple times that they believe that they would assume, or they believe, or they think that Guy and Jamie are held up somewhere writing the script for the next one. They said that countless times. Sorry, my nose is so itchy. This part right here. They said that multiple times in interviews. So I think the idea was it would always be them writing it, but then would it be Radio Silence to direct it? Which I think it is. I think it will be. Danny should be the opening kill like COD. It makes sense. Agreed. Yep. Yeah, I hold strong on it, Marcus. Thanks for popping in, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, that's literally what I just said. At the end of the day, it's a movie. Sometimes they don't make sense. Will Sydney get her fight? I assume if Sydney is in the movie, she would fight Ghostface. Like, she'd be a part of it at the end. I don't think you have Sydney come in as like a consultant. I think she has to kind of get her hands dirty. I think that's what we would want. I want Sydney to die. I mean, for Nev not wanting the character, that is kind of selfish, I think. And for somebody to get lucky that many times. I get, like, yeah, I can see it. I can see where you're coming from. I think, I think she feels she has possession over the character. Whether you believe it's right or wrong, it's okay. I think actors, to a degree, do kind of have possession, but only so much, because ultimately, and here's where I'm going with this, ultimately it is the fans that made the character, right? A character that's so loved or whatever, the actor can feel like they own that character, the director, the writers. I think it's very much shared with the audience, because the reason they didn't create the character, but they made the character popular, the audience, right? Sydney, if you don't like her as an audience, she doesn't become like an icon. You know what I mean? So I do agree it's selfish, because it's not taking in everything. I would counter with saying I think the majority of fans would also want Sydney to live. I don't think fans would sign up for the overwhelming majority, maybe some, but I think most fans would not want Sydney to. I think most fans would want Sydney to not die. I gotta be careful with my double negatives that I do so much. Does that make sense? I agree partly, but I don't agree all the way. But that's okay, because I'm just one person. Gail mentioned her parents in 6. Maybe they didn't support her journalism, which is why she's so pressed to get a good story like Ghostface to prove a deeper point to her parents that she's the best. Yeah, that's a great point. And I think you could, I don't know if you have to keep hinting at that in future movies, because I think you can kind of glean some of that off of just 6's conversation. It was a nice little thing to throw in, honestly. I definitely agree with that. I do think Jenna will have a limited shooting schedule like Nevin 3. I agree. She's in like 6 movies upcoming. She's in Wednesday season 2. She's just in so much that when is she going to have a 2.5 month window? But I don't know, like, what is priority, right? Which ones shoot when? Do some of them shoot in like 2 years from now because it doesn't matter? Does Scream 7 have priority in a contract or whatever? I don't know. Could there possibly be a Scream game in the works that we don't know of? Maybe a stretch, but I would love it. If there is a Scream game, well, I don't know how I was about to answer that. Most games that are in development, we don't know about. Does that make sense? Most games, period. There are hundreds of games that are in development right now that come out this year, next year, let's say within the next 5 years, there's, that are being worked on or started just now. So there are a higher percentage of games we don't know about than games that we do. I think that's a very safe stat from what I know. So I think it's possible a Scream game started this year. I think if I wanted to kind of like throw that optimism, because you just look at the success, and I think 6 may be the final like hit in the head. Like if there was executives being like, well, I don't know if it's that popular, I don't know if a game would sell, and then they get hit by like a brick or something, and they say, okay, you see 6, like clearly we can do it twice. The franchise is healthy and popular. So I think it's definitely possible. And look, I'm not the biggest Scream content creator. I promise you, I would be the biggest thing covering that game, because it's molding, bringing together, combining gaming, which I think I do well coverage-wise, and then Scream, which I think I do, and it's just bringing them in together. So I think that would be like the greatest thing. I think that'd be like one of the greatest things that ever happened to this channel, is for a Scream game to happen, because selfishly, channel growth-wise and finances and stuff, I think it'd be very beneficial for me. But I also think I'm kind of like built. Like it's kind of what I'm here for, is like to cover that thing that's not even real yet. So please, like God, somebody out there, please make this game. They need to bring back Marco Beltrami from music composer. Yeah, I do miss him. I think the music is pretty good. I actually loved the sound. I know I saw a lot of people that said they didn't like the sounds of 6. I loved it. I adored it. Not just sounds like sound effects, but the music, the score, also even the licensed music. I really liked. I understand that if people say they didn't like it. Only new Scream fans want Sid dead. Yeah, you got to be careful, because you don't want the new Scream fans. If there's too many of them that want Sidney to die, I think they would have to kind of go back to the well and say, who would we really be upsetting or pleasing if we kill Sidney? Like, are we doing it for like the few new ones, or maybe there's a lot of new ones, but then we'd be upsetting like 20 years worth of fans? Like, who would we really be targeting here? They'd really have to think about it. But also, it doesn't really matter, because as long as Nev has that in her head, which I totally respect, maybe I'll ask her that. Do you still have in your head that you will never come back if you are killed off like in a script? Maybe I'll ask her that when I meet her. I think that'd be a fun question. Agreed about the soundtrack. I felt 5 was good enough with plenty of moments, but 6 was lacking. Outside of pop music's and actual score was very underwhelming. Well, there you go. See, there's a difference of opinion right there. Remember the theories that we had before 5 came out? I remember thinking that Wes was Judy and Dewey's kid. Yes. There were a lot of crazy, I think, good theories, leading into 5. I think, honestly, it's a strength of the franchise. It just factually is. And a lot of it is not even done by any one movie or any one entity. These movies kind of can carry themselves in hype and theories and speculation. 5 could have been as great or as horrible as possible, and I think you'd still be able to kind of go off with 6. Do you know what I mean? Because we did. People had so many different opinions with 5, but you could kind of go into 6 and say, okay, is Tara, what's going to go on with her? Sam, are they going to kill Chad? Kirby, what's her role? Bailey, all these characters. Who's Ghostface? Annika, all this stuff. So it really does it without even trying to, I guess. Win. Thank you. I want Gale to die in the next movie. I want them to literally show that anyone can die at any point in the movie. That would do it. I think you kill the core. I think you kill one of the core 4 to prove that point, though. You could definitely do it with Gale. But I think if you kill Chad, but again, I mean, it just goes in a circle. Like I said earlier, because you could have killed Chad. You know what I mean? You had it. Think Sydney's gonna get attacked at her home and somehow end up with the core 4. I think that's the easiest way of doing it, to be honest with you. Wonder where Scream 7 is being filmed. Well, nowhere right. We will know for sure. Like, we will figure it out, but nowhere right now. I love Gale as a character, which is why if they do her death right, like how they nearly killed her off in 6, that's, all right. I guess that's kind of fair. I think they did really well in 6, and if you did kill Gale there, I don't know how upset I would have been. So I guess with that in mind, I would be slightly more open to it than, and I think I'm much more open to Kirby dying than I was like 5 months ago, for sure. Sydney, never, though. Like, I'm not going to change my mind with her. One amazing thing about the Scream franchise is there's only one timeline. Would diverging timelines or movies ruin the franchise? Ooh, good question. So you're not talking about a multiverse. You're talking about something that's just separate or like a different age or whatever. Yeah, it would be. I think it'd be like a learning curve, both for the writers and also for like the fan. Like, literally, we'd have to learn how to like process it. I don't think it would be a guarantee to work. Like, for sure, I do not think it'd be a guarantee to work. But sometimes you got to try things that are a little bit different, I love the opening for Scream 7. The nobody gives a blank about that's 6. Nobody gives an F about movies. Yeah, I love that. I think about that opening actually quite often. Titan Gamer, what's up, buddy? Nems? Is that how you say it? Neems? Hello. Can we just kill the Core 4 and give Sid her franchise back? No, they won't do it. They won't do it. Robbie? How you say? I assume it's Robbie. Hello, new people. Screaming 6 ending made me like 5 ending more because at least 5 switched up the motive a little. That's fair. I haven't watched 5 since January. So I think I almost want to go backwards. Because I'm all over the place. Like, was 2's anniversary this past fall? Yeah, it was. So here's what I did. I don't remember the last time I watched 1. I don't remember when I watched 1 last. I watched 4 on Halloween. I watched 2. So my order. In mid-October, I watched Scream 2. Then I watched Scream 4 on Halloween. Then I watched Scream 5 in January for the 1 year. Then I watched 6. Then I watched 3. And I've done that since October. October is a starting point. So that's been my order. So I have no consistency. I'm not going in an order at all. But I think I want to go backwards, at least with 6 and 5. Like, I want to watch 6. Or maybe I want to watch 5. I definitely want to watch 5 again. Maybe 5, then 6, maybe 6, then 5. But I want to try that. I wouldn't mind a Telltale Scream, which, by the way, I do think would be cheaper than like an Until Dawn, by the way. Have choices to where all the characters in the game could be the killer. In the ending, the choice could be made to which killer you get. Yeah. You got to be careful because none of these things are ever unlimited, right? So you still would have to have just a couple options of who it could be. But you could do it. You could easily, again, get, like, I guess I have no real game development talent. I'm not a script writer. But I think I have a good pulse on Scream. I think I have a good pulse on gamers. I think I have a good pulse on, like, gaming history. There's really no reason that I would ever be hired or could ever raise millions of dollars to do it, but I'd love to try. Like, I think I could craft a really cool game with a lot of help from other people, but I think I could do it. So the best I'm going to get is hopefully we get that kind of game, and I just cover the living heck out of it. Like, I am the guy that you go to for coverage on that game. I'd love that. That's what I want. That's what I want in life. Projecting 10 years ahead, I think doing 10 movies, like a last trilogy of 8, 9, 10 would be a sweet spot to end it before doing an actual TV show that's only Scream in name. Yeah. I think there's another trilogy. I think this trilogy has saved Scream in a sense where you can now do this one, you can end it at 7, and then you almost guarantee, you don't even just guarantee 7 at this point, you almost guarantee we can probably do this again with an 8, 9, 10. We can probably do another trilogy. I think it's honestly done that, to be fair. Tara doesn't have much of a story either. I think killing her off is also one of the safest bets. I think killing Tara might, yeah, like story-wise, like you say, I think that's fair. I think it's so risky because of Jenna. I think like her as a person has kind of like over like jumped over, the character version of herself, right? So I think it's only risky because of Jenna, not necessarily Tara. Hello, Sean Wood. Feel like writers, directors, execs for Scream 6 wanted their cake and eat it too, and left me feeling detached from the movie franchise despite loving most of 5 and 6. Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues with 6, I do think, is just the non-willingness to kill like a Chad and Mindy kind of thing. That I definitely would like a redo on. I would take the majority, even the reveal, even the kind of predictability. I think I would accept that if you gave me a couple like meaningful. Annika's death was meaningful and it was incredible, but I think doing it with Chad would have been good. Do you think they'll ever bring Scream back to life in a way that is believable? Do you think they will ever bring from Scream back to life in a way that's anybody from Scream? No. I think Kirby was literally the only one. I mean that. I just think because there always has been that discussion, and it also was believable enough, and all that. Like Stu has always been also has been a discussion, but it's a different discussion, I think, than Kirby. It just is. They're not the same thing. So Kirby is really the only one. Jill, you could definitely make an argument for Jill, but I think it's a lot harder to bring back ghost faces from the dead just because I think that's weird. Like when you bring back kind of things like that, I think it's easier to bring back like heroes, like the protagonist kind of thing. I think that's maybe just like a cliche or just like an element of Hollywood. That's not Matthew Lillard's fault or Stu's fault or Scream's fault. It's kind of just the way that it is. I binged them all in October, then again in December, and again in February. Yeah. Well, I play so many games. Like, literally, I just go from one game to the next, to the next, to the next. Sometimes I watch some TV, like with my wife. We'll watch like series together. But I don't watch that many movies. I also don't watch movies. I used to. I've watched I've said it before, like Pirates of the Caribbean. I've watched Pirates 3 maybe like 25 times, like an incredible number. Harry Potter's, I've watched them a lot. Star Wars, I've watched episode 3. Episode 3 maybe my most watched movie like of all time, So I have watched movies a lot, but it was a long time ago. Nowadays, like the last 6 years maybe of my life, I don't really watch. Scream has probably been my most rewatched franchise in the last 6 years. Pirates, I've only watched maybe one time all those movies in the last like half decade, which is nuts because you go the last decade or half decade, I probably watched it 20 times, A large multiplayer role play type game with 15 to 20 players would be perfectly work. A story game isn't unlimited, and how would it work if you're the killer? I just think too many, all of the other horror games that are licensed, they're all multiplayer. So I just think the story of Scream is so powerful that I think a whodunit murder mystery story game would be better than a slasher, one Ghostface versus 4 survivors in Woodsboro, running around, going in the houses, like Friday the 13th or Dead by Daylight. I will take that, but I think a story game is better. But I don't know, to your point about how would it work if you're the killer. If it's a story game, you would not be the killer. How I would do it is if it's a story game, you're the final girl. That's the character you play as. You could do it any way. You could do, like Until Dawn, you play as all the characters, right? Or, some games you play as all the characters. Some games you only play as one. Like Telltale, they only play as one, or mainly a main character. I think it makes sense to only do a main character. If you wanted to play as the rest of them, I guess you could, but I'd actually limit it to play as one character, but you make choices and you can maybe save people, and if you don't save a certain person in a certain sequence, they'll die there. Maybe they'll die anyway like 2 hours later, but they'll die there based off of you. So that's how I would do it. I mean, I think it would work very easily. I can see it in my head, you know. Okay, I'm going to be wrapping up in the next like 10 or so minutes, so I will try to just get to the end of these comments. If there's anything else, let me know. I prefer Scream 6 over 5, even though I liked 5. Yeah. I like 6 way more than 5. There was an iPhone game for Scream 4. Yep. I have heard about that a couple times. What's going on? I think they wanted their core 4 untouched and planned to kill Gale and Kirby, then just decided not to. I think they didn't want to upset people with killing Gale or Kirby. That's for sure what I think. Jill is really the only one you could bring back. Agreed. I agree with that. Is Scream TV series worth rewatching? I think it is. The Mask. And what's the issue with season 3? Season 3 is garbage. Season 3 is kind of like political in some ways that I never like that stuff, or at least most times I don't. It also has just I think it's got some of the worst acting. It's also the believability that some of those characters or Ghostface are laughable. I think it's just so messy. Season 3 of that show. Riley, type in on YouTube. I think I maybe spoiled it, so maybe you don't want to, but I reviewed all 3 seasons. So if you type in like Podcast Now, Scream Season 3 review, you could probably find it. I went off and I gave the reasons why I hate 3. I don't know if I spoiled it, though. I maybe did. But I think seasons 1 and 2 are definitely worth rewatching. Killing off Tara would be a good reason for Sam to snap. Yep. I think you get Sam snapping if you kill off Danny or Tara. I think either one would do it. I feel like they would now you wouldn't have gotten that in 6 if you killed Danny. I think if you killed Tara you would have, but going into 7, you just kind of build up the relationship in between movies that Danny is like so important to Sam now. Now you know what I mean? I think it makes sense now. Just want to make sure I cover my back on that one. I feel like they would bring Stu just because they keep bringing him up over and over. I think they're doing it just because it keeps people talking, right? Like as long as people are talking, people make videos, people comment on things, people make Facebook posts, Scream kind of continues to live in a small way just because of Stu. It lives in other ways, right? Like for other kind of legendary reasons, but just the Stu dead or alive theory in its own little pocket keeps things moving. It never stops. So if they stop it, well, why would you do that? You know, and that's always been my argument to it. Why would they ever do it? It keeps people talking. They don't want that to stop. So why would they stop it, right? Gilbert, thanks so much. The killer reveal in season 3 was dumb. Well, I don't want to spoil it for Riley, but yeah, yeah. There's so much wrong. I'm sorry. There's a lot wrong with season. I hated it. There are some people that liked it. Definitely there were some people that liked season 3. Nothing against those people. You know me. I'm as respectful about your opinions as long as you're respectful for mine. I think season 3 was trash. I see why people I had always heard about how bad it was or people hating it, and then I watched it and just immediately it was so awful. And it's not even close to seasons 1 or 2, and it shouldn't even be on the same planet where the movies were made. You know what I mean? So, but thanks, buddy. I appreciate the super chat. Speaking of Craven, the name of the shop and sisters are attacked in. It's a nickname. Yep, that was a very cool Easter egg. Is there any whodunit story games? I think Until Dawn is probably one of the best ones. It's kind of Until Dawn, they said Until Dawn was inspired in part by Scream. So is The Quarry. The Quarry definitely is not a slasher, though. Until Dawn, without spoiling it, Until Dawn is 2 different genres of horror in the same game. First half is a slasher whodunit, and I won't say the rest. But the first half of Until Dawn, very much you can see the Scream influence. I'd say that would be the game I'd go to, for sure. For sure. Venomaze, what's up? I've seen you in the comments and stuff. Appreciate you being here. I know it's a Scream specific one, so sometimes that scares people off, but I appreciate you stopping in. Honestly, Joe would be really amazing killer to bring back. Yeah, I mean, I think Emma Roberts is just super talented. But yes, Bodega. I forget the name now, but I remember everybody was pointing out the bodega in the like filming locations when people saw it. I think one of the core four needs to die. I agreed. I think they will, to be honest. I really think they will. I like the mask and voice was back. That's true. There were positives in season 3. The mask, okay, and then it was Roger's voice, and he did so well with some not great Ghostface lines. You know what I mean? So, but yet again, Mike Vaughn I thought did really well as what he was supposed to do in seasons 1 and 2. But having Roger back was definitely a plus. What's funny though is you could. Oh no, my pen was open. You could watch like just the Ghostface lines. There's a YouTube video out there of just all of Roger's lines in season 3. Just watch those, and you don't even have to watch the show. You know what I mean? You could just listen of how good he is, and that's all you have to do. Although my message was censored, been happening for some. Yeah, I don't doubt that. YouTube has been doing some pretty stupid stuff. YouTube's been unsubscribing people from my second channel. And I made a video on my second channel. There's a lot of evidence to prove it. I never played Until Dawn. Is it worth getting in 100%. It's 100% worth getting. Maybe I'll do a video. I have a third channel. It's called Podcast Now Back to the Past. I take a look at, well, as you can imagine, older games, talk about them in the modern setting. I think Until Dawn would actually be a perfect game for that. Until Dawn, I still think is very good now. Easily. If Scream 6 is Scream 96 is Scream 5, which movie has a superior sequel? Oh, boy. Well, I think the jump from 5 to 6 is greater than the jump of 1 to 2. Can I throw a curveball there? I would say that. I'd say that. I don't know if 6 is literally better than 2, but I think the jump from 1 to 2 and the jump from 5 to 6, I think it's a greater jump. I think they did a better leap from 5 to 6. So it depends on how you grade it. Scream 2, no doubt. If only for stakes, Randy died. Until Dawn is, yeah. Until Dawn is still one of the better games that have ever released, in my opinion. And, Walking Dead, Telltale did such a great job with those. The two characters they could kill off are Tara or Mindy. I think you could get both, to be honest. When do you think they would market the digital release? Probably next week, or even like this Friday. I think it's within like the next 7 or so days, Sean, for sure. Robert's voice is Rogers is sounding deeper in Scream 5 and 6. Yeah. He's gone through different eras. Like, you listen to Ghostface or Rogers' voice, and 1 through 3, it's a certain way. 4 is very different. 4 is the most different now. And then 5 and 6 are the same, but they're different than the other 2. So, yeah. I'm waiting for the Steelbook. Yeah, I pre-ordered the Steelbook. That's what I did. Like I said before, hopefully Amazon doesn't jip me, because I know when I pre-ordered it, it was $50. It was $49.99. And then I saw it was on sale where it's like the price is like X'd out, or like there's a line through it. When I pre-ordered it, it was $50. But then like a week later, it was $34.99 or $35.99. It was on sale. And I'm just hoping that that's the price they're going to give it to me at, because I spent $50, but I don't think it charged I don't think it charges until the thing releases. So I don't know. I don't know how much money I spent on it, but I definitely bought it and it's definitely going to come. Scream 4 Sonder. Yeah. I think Scream 4 is a fantastic film. Did you see they might include deleted scenes in? Yeah, I did. I think there's going to be deleted scenes in the iTunes later this month. So I think there could be reason to watch YouTube and maybe even buy the thing or rent the thing on iTunes and stuff, because I think the deleted scenes are going to come out a month early through that. Yeah, his lines in 4 were nuts. And yeah, he's older. He's in his 60s. So definitely, your voice changes. My voice is relatively the same in the last like 10 years. Some people's voices don't change, some do. You inspired me to make my own Scream talks on my channel. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad. Thank you. I'm glad to have done it, honestly. I try to help people. People ask me all the time, actually, over the last couple of years, like tips and stuff of creating channels. I'm always happy to write a little something of what I would do or congratulate people. I'm glad, We're kind of the old guard. I don't ever want to be replaced, so I hope no new people ever replace me. But, more people, the better, honestly. So I'm glad people are doing it. And I hope it works out well for you, honestly. I'm planning on buying the complete Blu-ray collection. Yeah, there's only a matter of time until they do all 6, right? Watching Scream 4 in the theater was amazing. See, I haven't done... now I've seen 1 and 2 because of the re-releases. 1 and 2, 5 and 6. So I've never seen 3. I've never seen 4 in theaters. So I definitely would like to do that. No one can replace you. Thank you. And I would say, to get kind of cocky or my ego, I do believe that's true. I think I have I don't have necessarily like a talent of, definitely not like editing or any like that fancy stuff. But I think in the way that I talk and my honesty and that kind of back and forth, I think that is very hard to recreate. And my knowledge, I think I have very above average knowledge on Scream or gaming and stuff. So I do think there are some things about me that you can never actually duplicate. And then there's things you could do so much better, like the editing or thumbnails or, stuff like that. All right, I'll probably end it here. Getting close. I actually got to pick up my daughter from school in a couple minutes. I got to get going. But I appreciate you guys being here. I know this was a, different time, different day. But I promised I wouldn't be done with Scream live streams, and I'm not. I want to continue them. Hopefully we get Scream 7 news very soon. Still be doing videos. I'm going to start doing the rankings. I want to do killers ranked, openings ranked, stuff like that. So those are going to be the next couple videos, most likely. Scream 7 news whenever that happens. And then we'll probably break down the deleted scenes and stuff when those come out. I think that should be something we should do on the channel. So that's some of the stuff to look forward to. I'll be streaming more this week. I'm going to do like 2 more streams this week, but they won't be Scream related. So just so you guys know. But yeah. I really do. I appreciate all you guys being here. Thank you so much for watching live, watching the video afterwards, and I'll see you all on the next one.